King Tantalus. Once, in the distant realm of myth and legend, there lived a man named Tantalus. He was a mortal of great privilege, born to divine lineage, and favored by the gods themselves. Tantalus resided in the magnificent city of Sisyphus, nestled amidst the towering peaks of Mount Sisyphus, where the earth met the heavens. Tantalus was a man of unmatched ambition and audacity. His desire for power and immortality knew no bounds. He reveled in the lavish feasts held in honor of the gods, daring to invite them to his opulent palace. His feast was a spectacle of opulence, with the finest wines, sumptuous dishes, and treasures beyond imagination laid before the Olympian deities. But Tantalus harbored a dark secret within his heart, a secret that would ultimately seal his fate. During one of these grand feasts, Tantalus devised a scheme that defied the very laws of hospitality and divine respect. He sought to prove that he was as cunning as the gods themselves. As the Olympians reclined on golden thrones, indulging in the finest ambrosia and nectar, Tantalus hatched his audacious plan. He captured his own son, Pelops, and summoned the most skilled craftsmen in all of Greece. Tantalus instructed them to dismember the young prince and cook his flesh into a dish fit for the gods. This abhorrent feast was then presented to the divine assembly. The gods, however, were not deceived. They saw through Tantalus's treachery and resurrected Pelops, who had been reduced to a mere skeleton, replacing his ivory shoulder with one made of gleaming gold. For this sacrilege and heinous crime against the gods, Tantalus was cast into the darkest depths of Tartarus, the very abyss of the underworld. There, he met his grim punishment, one befitting his insatiable desires and relentless ambition. In Tartarus, Tantalus stood waist-deep in a crystal-clear pool, with luscious fruit trees laden with succulent grapes and ripened pomegranates hanging low above him. It was a tantalizing spectacle, for no matter how much he stretched and strained, he could never reach the food or drink to quench his unending hunger and thirst. As he reached for the grapes, the branches would sway just out of his grasp, and the water would recede whenever he tried to drink, leaving him in perpetual torment. The wretched soul of Tantalus served as a warning to all who dared defy the gods, a reminder that hubris and treachery would lead to unending suffering. The echoes of his pitiful cries filled the cavernous depths of Tartarus, serving as a testament to the wrath of the gods and the consequences of moral arrogance. And so, Tantalus, once a mortal of privilege and ambition, was forever condemned to endure the eternal torment of tantalizing desires. Forever just out of reach, a stark lesson etched into the annals of mythology, serving as a warning to those who would dare challenge the divine. Queen Niobe. In the ancient city of Thebes, nestled beneath the towering Mount Olympus, lived a woman of extraordinary beauty and arrogance named Niobe. She was the queen of Thebes and the wife of King Amphion, ruling over her subjects with a regal air that bordered on haughtiness. Niobe's pride, however, was not without reason, for she was the daughter of Tantalus, a mortal who had dined with the gods themselves. One day, as Niobe strolled through the opulent gardens of her palace, she heard the sweet laughter of the nymphs who frequented the nearby stream. The nymphs were rejoicing in their own beauty and grace, their praises and songs filling the air. But Niobe's heart swelled with envy, for she believed herself to be more beautiful than even the goddess Leto, the mother of Apollo and Artemis. With a haughty toss of her head, Niobe declared to her subjects, "Why should these lowly nymphs and their mother Leto receive such adoration? Am I not more radiant than the goddess herself?" News of Niobe's audacious claim reached the ears of Leto on Mount Olympus, where she resided with her divine children, Apollo and Artemis. Enraged by the mortal's arrogance, Leto beseeched her offspring to punish Niobe for her impudence. Apollo, the god of light and music, descended from the heavens with his golden lyre, his divine voice resonating through the city as he stood before Niobe's palace. "Mortals must learn humility," he declared, his voice like honey and thunder combined. "I, Apollo, have been sent to bring divine justice to this land." In an instant, he strummed his lyre and let forth a radiant arrow of light that struck down Niobe's 7 sons, each a brave and valiant warrior. Their lifeless forms lay strewn across the palace courtyard, their noble hearts forever silenced. The city of Thebes was plunged into mourning, and the once proud Queen Niobe was shattered. Her tears flowed like rivers, and her cries of grief echoed through the land. But Apollo was not done, for he called forth his twin sister Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. Artemis, with her silver bow and unerring aim, descended upon Thebes like a tempest. Her arrows flew like lightning, and in an instant, she struck down Niobe's 7 daughters, who had been the pride of their mother's heart. the once beautiful queen stood amidst the lifeless bodies of her children, her arrogance now humbled by the weight of her grief. As Niobe wept, her tears formed a waterfall that cascaded down the mountainside, a symbol of her ceaseless sorrow. The gods, satisfied with their vengeance, returned to Mount Olympus, leaving the city of Thebes to mourn its fallen royal family. Niobe's story serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the consequences of hubris in the face of divine power. Her beauty and pride were no match for the wrath of the gods, and her once proud kingdom was left in ruins, a stark reminder that even the mightiest mortals are but playthings in the hands of the Olympian gods. King Midas. In the days of old, amidst the realm of Phrygia, there lived a man of great wealth and power, King Midas. Amongst his many pursuits and pleasures, he held a particular reverence for the god Dionysus. But it was a chance encounter with the god's aged and ever-intoxicated mentor, Silenus, that set the wheels of Midas's fate into motion. One fateful day, Silenus, in his usual state of inebriation, wandered into the resplendent rose gardens that adorned the king's domain. There, the king's attendants stumbled upon the befuddled satyr and, in an act of both jest and reverence, bound him with fragrant roses before presenting him to their royal master. Midas, with a heart full of compassion, treated the elderly Silenus as an honored guest. For 10 days and nights, the king extended his hospitality to the venerable satyr, offering food, drink, and merriment. With great care, he later escorted Silenus back to Dionysus, who was deeply touched by the kindness shown to his friend. In gratitude, Dionysus offered King Midas a boon, a favor beyond measure. Midas, driven by insatiable greed, cast aside caution and made a request that would change his life forever. He wished that all he touched would turn to gold, believing this would multiply his wealth beyond imagination. The god granted his wish without hesitation, but the fulfillment of Midas's desire soon proved to be a bitter curse. With every touch, his newfound power transformed all he held dear into cold, unfeeling gold. Food became inedible, wine lost its taste, and even his once comfortable bed became an unyielding metal slab. As misery and desperation gnawed at him, King Midas finally realized the folly of his greed. He beseeched Dionysus to free him from the curse, to take back the disastrous gift he had so recklessly requested. Touched by the king's genuine remorse, Dionysus showed mercy. He instructed Midas to immerse himself in the waters of the Tantalus river, a modest stream that flowed through Lydia. As the king submerged himself, the golden curse began to dissolve, releasing him from its malevolent grip. From that day on, the sands of the Tantalus river bore traces of gold. Arachne the Weaver. In the ancient city of Lydia, beneath the imposing presence of Mount Tmolus, there resided a young and supremely talented weaver named Arachne. Her hands moved with a grace that seemed otherworldly, crafting tapestries that enthralled all who beheld them. Stories of her extraordinary skill spread far and wide, capturing the imagination of the land. One fateful day, Athena, the goddess of crafts and wisdom, descended from Mount Olympus. Disguised as an old woman, she approached Arachne, who was engrossed in her work, and said, "Dear child, your talents are indeed remarkable, but remember that humility is the greatest virtue." Arachne, fueled by pride and curiosity, looked up at the elderly woman and replied, "Old woman, I have heard of Athena's skill in the craft, but I see no reason to humble myself. In fact, I challenge the goddess herself to a weaving contest. If I win, I shall be hailed as the greatest weaver of all time." The old woman smiled knowingly, her disguise fading away to reveal the radiant goddess herself. "Very well, Arachne," Athena said, her voice now imbued with divine authority. "You have issued the challenge, and I shall accept. Prepare your loom, for the contest shall begin." Side by side, Arachne and Athena worked tirelessly on their respective masterpieces. Arachne wove a tapestry that depicted the gods in moments of folly and hubris, highlighting their imperfections with intricate detail. Athena, on the other hand, created a grand image of Zeus dominating over Olympus, his power and majesty on full display. The beauty of their work was breathtaking, and the gods themselves gathered to witness the showdown. When the weaving was complete, it was evident to all that Athena's tapestry was a marvel of divine artistry. The crowd marveled at her depiction of Zeus, and even Arachne herself couldn't help but be awestruck by Athena's skill. Seeing the disrespect towards the gods seeping from Arachne's piece, Athena reached out and tore Arachne's tapestry to shreds. The mortal weaver, heartbroken and humiliated, fell to her knees. "You have lost the contest, Arachne," Athena said. "Your arrogance has cost you dearly. From this moment on, you shall no longer weave as a mortal." With a wave of her hand, Athena transformed Arachne into a spider, and she scuttled away, her tears weaving the intricate patterns of her new web. The crowd gasped in horror and pity as they watched the transformation unfold. But even in her new form, Arachne did not lose her passion for weaving. She wove her intricate webs, capturing the dewdrops of dawn and the light of the moon in her silken threads. Her skill was unmatched, and her artistry endured, weaving stories in the hidden corners of the world. King Sisyphus. In the ancient land of Greece, there reigned a famed king named Sisyphus, born to Aeolus, the master of the winds. Crafty and cunning, Sisyphus was unrivaled in his wits, amassing a vast fortune that none could match. As Sisyphus approached the twilight of his days, he found himself confronted by Thanatos, the god of death, sent to escort him to the somber realm of Hades. Yet, rather than submitting to his fate, the king outwitted Thanatos and bound him in chains, disrupting the natural order of mortality. Throughout the world, death came to a standstill. No more did people partake in solemn funerals, nor did they offer gifts and sacrifices to appease the rulers of the underworld, upsetting the balance decreed by Zeus. Zeus, the mighty king of the gods, dispatched his son Ares to liberate Thanatos from Sisyphus's cunning clutches. Thanatos, once free, forcibly extracted Sisyphus's soul from his chest, leading the defiant king to the land of death. Yet, Sisyphus, resourceful even in the realm of the deceased, had forewarned his wife not to make offerings to the gods on his behalf. For a considerable span, Hades and Persephone awaited the customary tributes in vain. Observing this, the shrewd Sisyphus appealed directly to Hades himself. "Great Hades," he entreated, "permit me a brief sojourn in the realm of the living. I shall instruct my wife to bestow generous sacrifices and gifts upon you." Hades, swayed by Sisyphus's plea, granted him leave. But the king, instead of returning as promised, remained in his palace, reveling in his cunning triumph and boasting about how he had outwitted death itself. This flagrant act incensed Hades, who dispatched Thanatos once more. The god of death discovered Sisyphus engrossed in a lavish feast, and, once again, he forcibly tore the king's soul from his chest and transported him to the underworld, this time for good. For his hubris in deceiving the divine and for the falsehoods he sowed on earth, Sisyphus endured an eternal and arduous punishment. He labored ceaselessly, pushing an immense boulder up a steep hill. Each time he neared the summit, the boulder would slip from his grasp and tumble back down, condemning him to retrieve it and embark on the uphill struggle once more. And so, his torment endured endlessly, a perpetual reminder of a king who had once defied even the inexorable grasp of death itself. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more. Have a beautiful day and thank you for stopping by.